Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Martians and aliens. We're not speciesists on this channel. Everybody's welcome. My name is Alan, and welcome to Mars, the Second Genesis. This is the second video in the series from Sol 466. And the images we're looking at today were captured by the Perseverance rover's Z mastcams. Okay guys, I've got some good and bad news for you. In the last video, which featured anomalies from Sol 456, I told you that there were going to be quite a few episodes featuring other anomalies from that sol. Unfortunately for me, I spent over 2 weeks preparing a load of X3D for the multiple episodes I promised you. Now, that was the unfortunate bit. That's the bad news for me. The good news is for you. On Sol 466, NASA released pretty much the same panorama with a slightly different angle, but the resolution, trust me when I say this guys, was pretty much off the scale. In fact, I would say it's probably about the best resolution NASA's ever released. But before you get too excited, I'd like to say, as photography goes, they're still pretty crap. But for NASA standards, wow, what can I say? The good news is what I've decided is to go with the high resolution, but I'm not going to cover any more from Sol 456. There's also another bit of the panorama which is featuring what I would say is metal, corroded metal that they've made to look like rocks, and other anomaly hunters such as John Ward, Art Alien TV has featured these anomalies, and again it's in higher resolution, so we will go into that in another video, and that's from Sol 66 as well. That's the other half of the panorama. So now that I've got all that out of the road, let's get into it, and we can see for yourself how good these images are. This is the Mordex version. This is a darker version. And this is the mono version. Now we'll go back to the Mordex version and I'll give you a pan through. So if we look at this here, it could be a hieroglyph or a carving of some kind. Look at this here. And this looks quite mechanical. And this as well. I'll zoom into this bit and let you see. Zoom into this bottom bit here. And you can see there's some sort of carving there. And this piece up at the top. Now looking at the darker version, give you a pan through of this. And you can see this is mechanical. And you can see more details in this area. And this is our next section. This is a darker version. And this is in mono. So let's go back to the Mordex version. Now as you can see, we'll start down here. These are not rocks. That's some sort of carving on that. I'll zoom in a bit closer. And you can see these are not just rocks. Now I'd like to draw your attention to this here. Look at this wee wall here. And that's what it is. It looks like brickwork. That's not a rock. We've got a riveter, a bolt there. And this is some sort of mechanical bit here. God knows what this is. And this. Let's take a wee look at the darker version, shall we? And you can see a lot more details with the stuff at the front. And here we can see some more details here. See, they put all this tan coloured crap over this. But you can clearly see they've tried to make it look like sand, but I've managed to bring the shadows back through. And you can actually see this is either something mechanical or carved. I don't know what it is, but I can certainly tell you one thing. This is not rocks. And this is our next bit. This is a darkened version. And here we have it in mono. Okay, let's get back to the lighter version. And I'll zoom in a wee bit and pan through it. Let's take a look at the darker version. You can see rivets or bolts all over the place, and you can see this is either something mechanical or something carved. This thing here. And this. And you can clearly see that's not rocks. I think that's a bolt sticking through there. Yep, looks like a bolt. And if you look at the edges, we've got this kind of brown colour. And that would indicate corrosion. That's where corrosion would start, at the edges. This may indicate that these, whatever they are actually metal. And this is our next series of anomalies. This is the darker version. And this is the mono version. Let's go back to the Mordex version. We can clearly see these are not rocks. On the dark version, we can see more details, especially this wee thing here. And this. And this is our next series of anomalies. This is the darker version. And this is the mono version. So let's go back to the Mordex version and I'll pan through it for you. I mean, we can clearly see here this is something mechanical. And the same with this up here. Let's take a wee look at the dark version and compare it. And we can see this and this is part of the same thing. And this is our next piece. This is the darker version. And this is the mono version. So let's take a look at the Mordex version. We'll zoom in a bit. Let's take a look at the dark version. Now if we look up at this area, we can actually see that this continues below this crap they've mapped to it. And we can clearly see that this is either mechanical or sculpted. It may be part of a structure. But we can see that these are not rocks. This is our next enhanced image. This is the darker version. And this is the mono version. So we'll go back to Mordex version. And I'll give you a pan through. Let's take a look at the dark version. And you can clearly see here this is something mechanical. And this as well. And again, this looks like block work. And look at the way it fits together. There's carving on it. Maybe hieroglyphs. Zoom in a wee bit in this area. This is our next piece. This is a darker version. And this is our mono version. So we'll just go straight to the dark version. And we'll look at this. Again, I would say this is mechanical. This is our next piece. And as you can see with the enhanced version, you can clearly see that's mechanical. This is the darkened version. And here we have the mono version. So let's go back to the Mordex version and I'll zoom in, give you a good look at this area here. And look at this. We've got a wee triangle there. Again, this area here looks like blockwork. Now this piece here reminds me of a gear. I'm not saying it is a gear wheel, but it reminds me of that. Again, it could be like something carved. Same here. Let's take a closer look at the darker version down at the bottom here. We can see this continues below the sand, so this is all part of the one thing. So you can see there. If you look at the overall thing, you can clearly see that it's not a rock. Okay, for our next enhanced image, this is the darker version, and this is the mono version. Let's zoom into the Mordex version, and I'll give you a pan through. That looks like carving or hieroglyphs. That looks like we're looking inside something. Look at this here. All this junk. That wee thing there. So let's take a look at this area here in the dark version. Looks mechanical. Look at this area here. This is our next area. This is the darker version. And our black and white version. Let's take a wee look at this. We'll zoom in, have a wee look. All this. And this here. Look at the shape of that. Now let's take a wee look at the darker version. And we can see up here a bit better what's lurking below the sand. We can see there's something below here as well. This is our next piece. And this is a darker version. And our mono version. So let's go back to the Mordex version. I'll give you a whiz through. Get this. Look at the way these rocks or concrete, whatever it is, all meshed together. Look at this piece here. So let's take a look at the darker version, shall we? If you look at this area here. Look at the brickwork, you can see the details a lot better. Look at this. You can see here, if you look very closely, you can see how they've tried to obfuscate this. I really don't know what to make of this. I mean, it could be mechanical, it could be hieroglyphs, carving, could be concrete that's moulded. Personally, I think it's metal, and they've tried to make it look like rock. So this is our next enhanced version. This is a darker version and a mono version. Okay, let's go back to the Mordex version. And we'll zoom in here. Okay, let's take a look at the darker version. And we can see a lot more detail here. And last but not least, this is our Mordex enhanced version. This is the darker version. And this is the mono version. Let's go back to the Mordex version, and I'll zoom in, let you have a look. If you look there, that is sheet metal. And look here. Again, it looks like very close fitting blockwork. Okay guys, if you could uncock your eyes just now, and let's take a closer look at this part of the wall here. Now, when I seen this, the first thing that came to my mind was Macho Pichu, and I think it's in Peru. In fact, I'm pretty sure it's in Peru. And this is a screen grab I done of part of the wall. And if you look at this piece here, you can see we've got the same sort of style of brickwork. And look at this. Although it's not exactly the same, it is very close to it. While I was looking for this image, this one here, I came across this image here. Now, if you look at the weird shape this is, some of the architecture of the Martians has got similarities to this. A lot of similarities. Now, one of my recent videos I done on the Martian doorway, if you look in here, we can see a doorway. And we've got these sort of bits. And we've found these same sort of things on Mars. The fact that this is on the top of a mountain, it'll be quite cold up there, which Mars is cold, and the air will be thin, and the air's thin on Mars. So is it unreasonable to assume that if the Martians vacated their planet, or some of them vacated their planet and came to Earth, they would go to an environment similar to what they were used to on Mars? So it's something to think about. Now, if you look at this really weird shape, well, a lot of the Martian structures, they don't really make a lot of visual sense to us. Neither does that, because that's not the way we build. So what I'm trying to put across here is, could this be Martian architecture that they built if they came from Mars to Earth? It's a big if, but it's something to think about. Okay, you can clearly see the lines here, this blockwork, and we can actually see a faint line in the sand. So this and this is part of the same thing. Let's take a wee look at the darker version. And as you can see, this tan coloured rubbish that NASA's put over this to try and obfuscate it, I managed to pull through some of the details so you can actually see it a wee bit better. Look at this piece here. I'll zoom in and let you see. See, we have a couple of rivets or bolts there. I'll get this piece here. And this. There's not a rock here, it's all mechanical. And look at this bit here. That definitely looks like bent sheet metal to me. Look at this piece here. And we can see this is hollow. So anyway, guys, I'll upload these to my Google Drive and you can download them and look at them for yourselves. So with that, I'll bid you farewell and I'll catch you in the next video. Thanks for watching.